Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Great Malabite action.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning,
How are you?
Good morning, Victoria Tundo. MK Abiola.
Good morning.
Looking golden.
Thank you. Spot
Yes.
on.
Efeni, please
Not
manage
light
time.
brown.
Start your shoot your shot.
Yes, let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. Now, a number of stories on the front page of this day. Of course, the window story, which emanated from this program yesterday. Arise News to facilitate availability of sickle cell drug in Nigeria. Yes, Ruben, have been receiving calls that please put me on the list from friends, family who think they will need this drug when it arrives. But there's a process. NAFDAC has to approve that drug. And of course, the Ministry of Health will be carried along. But of course, kudos again to all of us at Arise News Channel. Now, the other health story, history. As World Health Organization approves world first malaria vaccine. Yes, the World Health Organization yesterday endorsed the first ever vaccine to prevent malaria, debuting at a tool that could save the lives of thousands of children in Africa each year. This is another breakthrough because malaria is among the oldest known deadly disease, killing several people, millions, 500,000 people each year, nearly all of them in sub-Saharan Africa. So this drug is this vaccine is a welcome development. We know the man hours Nigerians lose every day for treating malaria, taking time off to treat malaria or recover from malaria. Now, the lead story, federal government considers emergency rule in Anambra to protect electoral process. Counter groups likely in Southeast against IPOB, says Umahi. ABGA, PDP, Samba disagree with Malami. Afenifere describes consideration as self-indicting. Falana, that's Femi Falana, the senior advocate of Nigeria, emergency rule does not empower president to remove governors. Well, this issue is also being reported by other newspapers, namely the leadership newspaper, Insecurity, federal government malls, state of emergency in Anambra, while the Daily Independent has a story as federal government gets knocks over emergency rule threat in Anambra. Ohaneze says state of emergency threat and embarrassment. Plan reaffirms discriminatory posture of the government, says Pandef. Northeast more qualified for emergency rule, Ubani tells federal government. The Daily Sun also reporting that story. Federal government threatens state of emergency in Anambra. State government, PDP, Ohaneze, Inwayahu, others kick. Now, this story you discussed much earlier, it will be self-indicting. I want for the government to be considering state of emergency because the government has the capacity, I believe, to provide security so that the election will take place. Excuse me. In the heat of the Boko Haram crisis, we provided security. Election took place in even the areas considered as the heartbeat of the insurgency. Results poured out from there and they were declared and counted as part of the ballots. So this government has a duty to also provide security for the November 6th governorship election in Anambra. I don't believe that you have to declare a state of emergency to do that. But again, the extant law, our constitution, and, of course, there are Supreme Court rulings on the issue of declaration of state of emergency. You cannot remove a democratically elected governor on the account of declaring state of emergency. I'm sure Ruben, Rufai, and Tundu, the lawyer, you will still have something to say on that. Now, let's look at other stories. The Guardian newspaper, Nigeria's The Guardian newspaper. 2022 budget expects more borrowing to finance 6.258 trillion deficit, says federal government. Senate hastily okays revised fiscal framework, approves 16.39 trillion budget for 2022. Buhari presents ambitious appropriation amid weak 2021 budget performance. 16 trillion spending plan amounts to overtrading, says Andori. Now, if we just look at other newspapers quickly. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper, also on insecurity. But beside the photograph, Obiano, why I wasn't at Southeast Governors meeting, says colleagues sponsoring violence in Anambra, which is a serious indictment. For Obiano, the governor of Anambra State, to say his colleagues, that is other Southeast governors, are the ones sponsoring violence in Anambra State. I think that in itself is a serious allegation, which I think the security agencies should also look into. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, the lead story, Anambra polls uproar as federal government threatens emergency rule. But above the masthead, Ndubisi Kanu was a great nationalist. Ukiwe, Tinubu, others. Yes, yesterday, Ndubisi Kanu, former one-time governor of Lagos State, a well-known Nadeco person, was in forefront of kicking against the annulment of June 12 election and, of course, the push for the return to democracy. Was buried yesterday, and encomiums, accolades poured as tributes were also read, and the Lagos State government has named one of its estates in Bagada, Ndubisi Kanu Estate. That's a true Nigerian, if you ask me. He was a true Nigerian who fought for the enthronement of democracy, though he was a military man who became governor, ruled 2 states before he was even 34 years. Why young people should be given space to contribute to our governance. Now, the Punch newspaper, high budget deficit, don't harm our future. Experts warn government. Federal government plans more loans. Naira will fall further. Inflation will rise. Debt servicing will worsen, say experts. Government will continue to borrow to finance projects. No money, says minister. Now we just look at the foreign newspapers quickly. Now the Times of UK, the Times of UK. Prime Minister hit by business backlash. Pro-Brexit bosses insist firms cannot be treated like a sponge to soak up rising costs. Yes, Boris Johnson is facing the backlash from Brexit supporting business leaders as they accuse him of treating them like the bogeyman over labor shortages in the UK. Yes, well familiar shortage of workers. But Boris Johnson yesterday is warning businesses against using Brexit as an excuse for failing to invest in people. And he said that restricting low-skilled migration will ultimately make the country more prosperous. Really? Do Britons want to do some of those low-skilled jobs? He has to answer. But business leaders are saying, look, if you force us to be training more workers at a time you also want to increase the minimum wage, we are likely to pass on the cost to consumers and inflation will go up. But just lastly, Wall Street Journal, Facebook slows new products amid reputational reviews. Facebook Incorporated has slowed the rollout of products in recent days. People familiar with the matter, according to the Wall Street Journal, are saying because of the media reports and, of course, that hearing in the U.S. Congress over Facebook activities. Ruben Rufai.
I don't know whether we still have enough time, but let's just say that the announcement that there is now a malaria vaccine, malaria accounting for about 400,000 deaths, infant mortality in Africa, I think is a major breakthrough. And it's very interesting that this has happened. And we have this good news just within 24 hours of also talking about a breakthrough with regard to sickle cell anemia treatment that the NHS in England has adopted. The only clause there is, the locus of the place where all of these initiatives are coming from is outside Africa. Yes. When are we going to get to a point where those key issues that are health issues, public health issues that are endemic in Africa, that the research, and this follow-through will originate from here in Africa. The second part of it is to draw your attention to Mr. Dele Shobowale's article today, where he's asking for open ranching for pigs in Nigeria. I guess it means that, by way of joke, will it be possible in the spirit of equity, as the columnist, Mr. Shobowale, recommends, that you allow pigs to roam freely on the streets of Katsina and Sokoto and Kano and Zamfara. He says, what is good for cattle is also good for pigs, and if possible, goats too,
Let them all
What a way to drive home the point. Open grazing is anachronistic.
and absurd.
Anyway, thank you very much, Emmanuel Efeni.